Your child is struggling, and you've been told it might be ADHD, or maybe autism, or maybe both, or maybe neither, and you just need to be more consistent with discipline. Here's the problem. ADHD and autism can look almost identical on the surface. The meltdowns, the social difficulties, the sensory issues, the school struggles. They overlap so heavily that even professionals sometimes get it wrong. And when the wrong diagnosis is made, the wrong support follows. Strategies that help an ADHD child can frustrate an autistic child. Approaches that work beautifully for autism can completely miss the mark for ADHD. Getting this right matters. It changes everything, from how you parent to how the school supports them to how your child understands themselves. Today, I want to walk you through 10 subtle differences between ADHD and autism that most parents and many professionals miss entirely. Difference number 1: why they struggle socially. Both ADHD and autistic children can have a hard time making and keeping friends, but the reasons are fundamentally different. An ADHD child usually understands social rules. They know you're supposed to wait your turn, not interrupt, and read the room. They just can't consistently do it. Impulse control fails them. They blurt out answers, talk over people, and act before thinking, then feel terrible about it afterward. An autistic child often doesn't intuitively understand the unwritten social rules in the first place. They're not breaking rules impulsively. They genuinely don't see the rules. They may not pick up on sarcasm, body language, or the subtle shift in someone's tone that signals this conversation is over. The ADHD child knows what they should have done after the fact. The autistic child may not understand what went wrong at all. Difference number 2: the nature of their meltdowns. Both can have intense emotional outbursts, but the triggers and patterns are different. ADHD meltdowns are often triggered by frustration, boredom, or impulse. They're reactive, something doesn't go their way, and the emotional regulation system can't contain the response. These meltdowns tend to blow up fast and resolve relatively quickly. The child often feels embarrassed afterward. Autistic meltdowns are more likely triggered by sensory overload, unexpected change, or accumulated stress from masking all day. They build slowly, like a pressure cooker, and when the child finally breaks down, it's a complete system shutdown. Recovery takes much longer. If your child melts down explosively but bounces back quickly, that leans ADHD. If the meltdown seems to come from deep exhaustion and takes hours to recover from, that leans autism. Difference number 3: how they handle routine. This is one of the clearest differences, and it's often overlooked. Children with ADHD generally resist routine. Structure feels confining. They crave novelty, spontaneity, and stimulation. Doing the same thing the same way every day is their idea of torture. Autistic children typically need routine. Predictability feels safe. Knowing exactly what comes next reduces anxiety. An unexpected change to the schedule, even a positive one, can be deeply distressing. The ADHD child fights against structure. The autistic child falls apart without it. Difference number 4: their relationship with focus. Both conditions affect attention, but in opposite directions. ADHD creates scattered, unstable attention. The child jumps between tasks, loses track of what they're doing, and gets pulled toward whatever is most stimulating in the moment. Focus is unpredictable and hard to sustain on anything that isn't intrinsically exciting. Autism often creates deep, narrow focus. The child becomes intensely absorbed in specific topics or activities, sometimes to the exclusion of everything else. This isn't the same as ADHD hyperfocus, which is driven by stimulation seeking and is inconsistent. Autistic-focused interests tend to be stable, long-lasting, and deeply meaningful to the child. The ADHD child can't choose what to focus on. The autistic child may focus deeply, but only on what matters to them. Difference number 5. How they play. Watch how they play. It reveals a lot. ADHD. Children tend to play in bursts. They start one game, abandon it, jump to the next thing. Their play is energetic, social, and often physical. They want interaction but struggle to sustain it. Autistic children often play in patterns. They may line things up, sort by categories, or replay the same scenario over and over with minor variations. Their play can be deeply imaginative, but it often follows a specific internal logic that others don't immediately understand. ADHD play is chaotic and fast-moving. Autistic play is methodical and repetitive, even when it's creative. Difference number 6. Sensory responses. Both ADHD and autistic children can be sensitive to sensory input, but the responses differ. ADHD children are often sensory-seeking. They want more input, more movement, more noise, more touch. They fidget, bounce, crash into things, and chew on everything because their nervous system is understimulated and craves input. Autistic children are more often sensory avoidant. Certain sounds are painful, certain textures are intolerable, bright lights or crowded spaces overwhelm them. Their nervous system is often over-responsive, and they withdraw to protect themselves from overload. Of course, both conditions can show both patterns, but the general tendency, seeking versus avoiding, is a useful distinction. Difference number 7. How they communicate. Both can have communication differences, but the nature of those differences matters. ADHD children are often very talkative, but disorganized. They jump between topics, interrupt, lose their train of thought, and circle back without finishing their point. They have plenty to say, but the executive function to organize and sequence their speech is impaired. Autistic children may communicate very differently. Some are precise and formal in their language, using vocabulary that sounds advanced for their age, but missing the casual, flexible tone of typical conversation. Others may struggle with the pragmatic side of language, knowing what to say, when and how much, even when their grammar and vocabulary are strong. An ADHD child talks too much, too fast, out of turn. An autistic child may talk in depth about their specific interest or struggle to initiate and maintain the back-and-forth flow of casual conversation. Difference number 8. Their response to transitions. Both struggle with transitions, but for different reasons. The ADHD child struggles with transitions because they can't disengage from what they're currently doing. If it's stimulating, they're locked in. The switch requires executive function that they can't easily deploy. It's a regulation problem. The autistic child struggles with transitions because the change itself is threatening. The disruption to their expected routine or the unpredictability of what comes next creates anxiety. It's a predictability problem. The ADHD child doesn't want to stop. The autistic child doesn't want to face the unknown. Difference number 9. Eye contact. This one is subtle and often misread. ADHD children generally make eye contact, sometimes too much when they're excited about something. Their issue isn't with eye contact itself, but with sustaining attention during conversation. They look away because they're distracted, not because eye contact itself is uncomfortable. Autistic children often find eye contact genuinely uncomfortable or overwhelming. It can feel too intense, too intimate, or simply unnatural. They may look away, look at your forehead, or focus on your mouth instead. This isn't distraction, it's a fundamental difference in how eye contact is experienced. If your child looks away because a bird flew by the window, that's ADHD. If your child consistently avoids eye contact because it feels wrong to them, that's worth exploring further. Difference number 10. What drives their anxiety? Both ADHD and autistic children can be highly anxious, but the sources of anxiety tend to differ. ADHD anxiety is often driven by failure. After years of forgetting things, losing things, being late, missing deadlines, and disappointing people, the child develops a deep fear of messing up again. Their anxiety is performance-based and tied to their executive function struggles. Autistic anxiety is often driven by unpredictability, not knowing what's going to happen, not understanding social expectations, being in environments that feel chaotic or overwhelming. These create a persistent, low-level anxiety that autistic children carry everywhere. The ADHD child is anxious about failing again. The autistic child is anxious about what might happen next. Here's what I need you to understand. These differences are subtle. They exist on a spectrum, and in many children, ADHD and autism genuinely co-occur, which makes everything more complicated. I'm not asking you to diagnose your child based on a video. That's not possible, and it's not responsible. What I am asking is this: pay attention to the why behind the behavior, not just the behavior itself. Two children can look identical on the surface, both melting down, both struggling socially, both having trouble at school, and need completely different support. If your child has been diagnosed with one, but the strategies aren't working, it's worth asking whether the other might also be present. If your child hasn't been evaluated at all, but you're seeing patterns here, please seek a comprehensive assessment from a professional who understands both conditions, not just one. The right understanding leads to the right support, and the right support changes a child's entire trajectory. You are paying attention. That's already more than many parents do. Keep going. In our next video, we'll talk about what a comprehensive ADHD and autism evaluation actually looks like, and how to advocate for your child through the process. See you then.